this video, we will explore two approaches in the design world: social versus market model. One driven by social responsibility and the other by capitalist forces. We will examine the social model of design, which in its essence offers a more ethical path in design and architecture. First, let's begin with a key figure in this conversation. Victor Papanek was an industrial designer, activist, and educator known for his sustainable design in the 1960s.
And Papanek was very much a critic of popular culture, from sort of clothing to design. His idea was that we need a sustainable economy of things, not just more and more stuff that feeds our emotional desires.
In his 1971 book, Design for the Real World, Papanek argues that designers have a moral obligation to address social issues in their work, rather than merely creating products for profit. As he defines in the book, design is the conscious and intuitive effort to impose meaningful order. Papanek's work centered around three key arguments: designing for marginalized communities, challenging capitalist-driven design, and adapting a sustainable approach to design. To illustrate these three arguments, we will integrate case studies and connections to the design ethics lecture. First, marginalization is defined by the limit to resources, opportunities, and power in healthcare, employment, and education. This idea is important in architecture because of factors in race, gender, class, and demographics.
Intersectionality is just a metaphor for understanding the ways that multiple forms of inequality or disadvantage sometimes compound themselves, and they create obstacles that often are not understood within conventional ways of thinking about anti-racism or feminism or whatever social justice advocacy structures we have.
The idea of intersectionality is important in architecture because it is tied to the history of colonization. Colonialism has had a significant impact on the design and architecture world, with about 80% of the world's population living in a country, city, or village that was impacted by colonial-era architecture. Decolonization in design is a process that involves challenging the Eurocentric roots of design and giving voice to marginalized communities. A case study to exemplify this is the Indian architect B.V. Doshi, who designed a series of low-cost urban housing called the Anranya Community Housing, which were self-contained spaces accommodating up to 6,500 residents. The highlights of this project were the clear vehicular and pedestrian traffic segregations, green spaces, and indigenous materials that were used during the building process, which reduced the cost. Moving on, capitalist principles dictate how government organize cities to promote economic growth. The market model, driven by capitalist principles, often focused on profit and consumer demand. This can also be seen in the fashion industry, where fast fashion has not only replaced quality clothing consumers used to purchase, but given way to labor exploitation. This can be exemplified in the design construction world, where cases such as the migrant labor camps during Qatar Olympics call for a different model of design. The social model of design focuses on human needs, serving the real needs of people in housing, healthcare, education. Last but not least, adapting a sustainable approach to design. There are two terms in this discussion: climate mitigation and climate adaptation. The former focuses on reducing greenhouse gas emissions to prevent global warming, while the latter is more relevant in this discussion on the social model of design. Climate adaptation focuses on finding design solutions to live around climate change, which means using eco-friendly materials, energy-efficient building processes, and overall minimizing the environmental impact, which Papanek also campaigns in his book by encouraging designs that reduce waste and conserve natural resources.
What more can architecture do? And by asking that question, we're forced to consider how we could create jobs, how we could source regionally, and how we could invest in the dignity of the communities in which we serve. I have learned that architecture can be a transformative engine for change.
In conclusion, Victor Papanek's vision of socially responsible design challenges the market-driven model. The social model allows designers to prioritize ethics, sustainability, and social justice. As we face contemporary challenges like an ever-changing climate, economic inequality, and resource scarcity, the social model can guide architects and designers to create more meaningful designs. As Papanek said, design is the conscious and intuitive effort to impose meaningful order.